Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight is Tuesday, February 15th, the day after my daughter's birthday, if anyone's keeping track. I also found out my brother-in-law's birthday was over the weekend. I didn't know that. But anyway, tonight we have the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. We have a public hearing this evening, and we also have a general meeting. There's also an item on here for the chairman's report. I don't know if I'm prepared for that, but I did last week. Anyway, without further ado, let's get started right away. The first item on the agenda is a continuation of public hearing regarding proposed amendments to the Darien Zoning Map, COZM number 3-2021, business site plan application number 244A as an apple, special permit application number 262A as an apple, Guidepost A LLC at 76 Tokenique Road. As you know, as you may or may not know, if you check your email, we got a letter from Michael Galante this afternoon at about 4 o'clock. So Fred is going to tell us what we're going to do with this application.
Yeah, so the applicant has requested a continuance of this hearing to allow them to respond to Mr. Galante's letter that, as Steve mentioned, was received by planning and zoning staff this afternoon. We are going to continue this hearing to March 8th at 7:30 p.m. via GoToMeeting.
Fantastic. Well, is it definitely GoToMeeting, or we haven't decided that yet?
As of now, it's scheduled as a GoToMeeting.
Okay.
So I expect that it'll be GoToMeeting on the 8th.
Okay, great. I didn't read the letter that we got from Michael Galante either. I printed it out, and now it's someplace between here and my car. The next item on the agenda is special permit application number 323, Yanlan Tang at 682 Boston Post Road. Proposal to establish a new health spa offering massage therapy and facials in the first floor office space formerly occupied by AnJu Breathing Space. The subject property is located on the southeast side of Boston Post Road, approximately 350 feet west of its intersection with Brookside Road and Assessor's Map number 16 as Lot 98 in the Design Business DB zone. Fred, what do we got?
Yeah, so this is a change in tenant. The first floor of this location at 682 was previously Himalayan salt therapy spa that was approved by the commission several years ago. This is an application for a new massage therapy and facial spa that will replace the previous use in the property. The applicant has submitted some information on the operations of the business. We understand that the business will operate between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. primarily by appointment. They would have 2 full-time or part-time employees and would service 3 to 6 clients per day. They would have access to 5 parking spaces in the back of the building. The second floor of the existing building is used as a residential rental currently. So I believe the property owner and applicant's representative, Alex from Zell, is here to provide any additional information and to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Hold on one second, Alex. Hold on one second.
Absolutely.
Just so everyone knows, and for the public record, Fred Donite and myself are here in Town Hall. Jeremy Ginsburg is not here tonight. He's attending the Architecture Review Board meeting, and this meeting is also being held via GoToMeeting. Mr. Fromzel, welcome, sir.
Thank you, and good evening to everybody. Literally, there isn't very much I can add to what Mr. Donate just said. Basically, as compared with the previous operation, which was the Salt Cave, it'll be a scaled down version of relatively similar enterprise, because Salt Cave was able to hold several people for the simultaneous session. In this particular case, we're talking about, it's 2 rooms, so it'll be 2 people the most at the same time by appointment. And we used to have 7 parking spaces available. This particular operation probably will take no more than 4 parking spaces, but just in case, there are 5 available for the first floor tenant. And they're planning to do high-end massage and facials. So basically, as I said, from the perspective of the operation itself, I don't think it's that much different. It's just smaller scale.
Thank you, sir. Sherman's, now this is one of those old-fashioned houses that's on the post road between basically downtown and the Newark border. Probably one time in its life, it was a single-family house. They got turned to office. We still have a bunch of these in town. They're kind of cool looking. Most of them have office on the ground floor in some way, shape, or form, and then an apartment on the second floor, and that's what this is. Questions from the commissioners? I'll go around the horn. Jeff Paul, you want to go first? Anything on this one? You good? Carrie, you're next to Jeff. You good? Questions? Adam, you okay?
No questions. Looks good.
George Riley, any questions, sir? Okay, Moran, any questions, sir? Fantastic.
No.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the general public that would like to speak to this application? If you are, you can wave your hand, turn on your camera, wave your light, scream your loudest, and you'll be recognized. So, do we have anybody? Fred, anything I'm missing on this one? And we're just seeing this because it's a change in use for, and it's a special permit, it's a personal service.
Correct. It's classified as a personal service establishment, and personal service establishments and the zone require a special permit by the to be issued by the commission.
Thank you. With that said, I would entertain a motion to close this hearing. Jim Rand makes a motion, Al makes a second. All those in favor? Thank you. Mr. Frumzel, we'll deliberate this application either later tonight or at a subsequent meeting. We'll get you an answer as soon as possible.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you for coming.
All right. Have a good evening. If nobody needs me anymore, I will disconnect.
Yes, we're good with you for today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. The next item on the agenda is coastal plan review number 367, flood damage prevention application number 420, land filling and regrading application number 526, Justin Patterson at 11 Searles Road. The proposal to construct a 4,413 square foot addition to the north side of the existing single-family residence, construction of realigned driveways and a pool and patio, and to perform related site development activities within regulated areas, including the regrading of the property and installation of stormwater management and a new septic system. The 1.89 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the south side of Searles Road at its north intersection with Indian Trail and is shown as Assessor's map number 66 as lot 69 and is located in the R1 zone. This is in addition to a house in Tokenie. Fred, what do we got there?
Yes, that's correct. And for this one, we also have the applicant requesting a continuance of this public hearing. We understand that there's some neighbor concerns regarding this application, and the applicant is working with the neighbors and the neighbors' representatives to address comments regarding this application. So this too will be continued to March 8th at 7:30 p.m. via GoToMeeting.
Fantastic. Thank you, Fred. Okay. So make sure you guys keep all that stuff for our next meeting. All right, the next item on the agenda is coastal site plan review number 368, flood prevention application number 421, 6 Lighthouse LLC at 30 Pasture Lane. Proposal to construct and install a new dock consisting of a fixed pier and ramp platform and perform related site development activities within regulated areas. The 1.35 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the south side of Pasture Lane, approximately 0.4 miles southeast of its intersection with Nearwater Lane, and is shown on Assessor's map number 51 as lot 56 located in the R1 zone. This is actually a cool street. We've seen a bunch of applications on this street. This is probably another one that's an extension of it.
Yeah.
Move stuff around. Fred, what do we got, sir?
That's right. So this is a dock application. The applicant proposes to construct a dock on the southwestern portion of the property. The application was referred to Connecticut Deep as well as the Harbor Master. We received no comments from Deep or the Harbor Master. The application was also reviewed by Darren Ostafine, Assistant Director, Department of Public Works. He did submit some comments for the record dated January 26th, 2022. Those comments are included as part of the record. The applicant also submitted approvals from Connecticut Deep as well as Army Corps of Engineers as part of the application. Mr. John Hiltz is here this evening to provide any additional information regarding the application or to answer any of your questions. John?
No, okay. Before we just want to put it down again, Commissioners, just for everyone's remembrance, where our area of jurisdiction is just the landward part of the property, which is usually only about 6 feet inland from, I forget if it's mean high water or high water.
Mean high water, correct.
High water.
Yes.
John Hiltz is here. John has done a bunch of these applications for us here in Darien. Sir, welcome.
Good evening. Hi, everybody. Yeah, it's just a very small dock. It falls under the aegis of the DEP's 440 dock general permit. The applicant, the owners did consider a longer pier, and we did the survey, out to deeper water just to see what we would need to do. But after, doing a preliminary look at that, we just, the owners said that was more than, anything that they were really interested in pursuing. So therefore, we opted for this smaller pier, ramp, and floating dock. It doesn't provide full tidal access, but they're okay with that. It's basically for launching and landing things like kayaks and things like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, this has got to only be in the water during high tide, right?
About half tide access.
Okay. Got it.
And
go
go
ahead, Fred.
Yeah. John, the Phragmites on the shore, can you speak to that condition? Are those going to need to be taken out, or what was Connecticut?
If you look at the plan, Fred, you can see that the limit of vegetation is pretty much coincident with the landward terminus of the pier where it slopes down to meet the grade. You can, you could do, a major eradication if you wanted to. Basically, in situations like this, you go and you cut them down by hand. When the pier goes in, it's going to go over the area of Phragmite primarily. The shading will have some effect on it. Usually what I've seen in situations like this is that the owners just, trim anything that pops up through the decking.
Forgive me for being naive. What are Phragmites?
Those tall reedy plants, they're an invasive species. You see them basically where, at the landward, terminus of tidal wetlands. What they tend to do is they tend to grab hold and they start shading out the more valuable vegetation, like the Spartina alterniflora and things like that. You can see on the survey that there's a small freshwater outflow there. and the salinity is such that it's probably low, that, you know, so low, and in combination with all the shades of the over trees, you know, you're probably in an ideal situation for the Phragmites to flourish.
And they're invasive, that's, so it's not something that's protected, is what you're saying.
Exactly. You know, you can actually apply for permits to, you know, have herbicide, you know, applied by a licensed, you know, landscaper, you know, someone familiar with that type of thing, if you want.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
These are kind of simple, and John's done a bunch of them in town, so we know his work and he knows how we like it. It's, you know, it's something like an 18-foot pier that's fixed, and then it's got the landing that's after, that's 18 feet, and a floating dock. Any questions from the commissioners? Let's start at the other end this time. Jim Rand, go first, sir.
Yeah, just it was the language that confuses me. It says a new dock. When I see that, I conclude probably incorrectly that there's an old dock. But I walked around, I couldn't find any evidence of an existing dock. So.
No, just a dock, just a new dock. Nothing's there now.
Okay, thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Sorry for any confusion.
Yeah, Jeff.
I don't know if it needs to be updated, but on the Department of Army letter, it says the proposed work location is Madison, Connecticut. Is that a typo?
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen a lot of Army stuff lately, but they are really struggling to keep up with their workload. And
I just didn't know if it needed to be updated.
Yeah, there's just a lot of typos and things like that.
Okay.
Well, okay. I mean, we don't care about that for our application, right? Yeah. It's got the right address, property up top. It's got the right application. Carrie, you're next to Jeff. Any questions on this one? You're good? Adam, is this your first time seeing one of these docks?
Not my first time seeing a dock like this, but certainly an application for one.
Agreed. Good answer. Thank you. George Riley, anything on this one? All set? Okay. Is there anybody in the general public who would like to speak to this application? Okay, hearing none. The only thing I want to make sure that we, as Fred alluded to, we did get a letter from one of our ex officio members, which is Darren Osfund at Public Works. His letter is just typical stuff that says, what explains the application. At the end of the day, the only thing that he wants condition approval is an as-built survey prepared by a licensed land surveyor, certified by an engineer, as-built drawings to show the utilities buried infrastructure as part of the application. You okay with that, John?
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any utilities, but part of the DEP requirement is they have what's called a certificate compliant, or a compliance certification that does have to be stamped by a licensed professional engineer or surveyor. And the survey, you know, if you want, we can just update the survey when it's all done and add the dock in it as well.
You gave us the survey as part of the application. This is Seymour one, right? Seymour? Yeah, Seymour.
We can have Seymour come out and add the dock. That's not a problem.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I asked the general public on this one, right, already?
Yes, you did.
Okay. I think we're all done with this one, so I entertain the motion to close. Jeff makes a motion, Adam makes a second. All those in favor? Thank you. We're all set. We'll deliberate this soon enough, and I'll get you an answer.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Good night.
You too. We got that. Bingo, bingo, bingo. Okay, that is the end of the public hearing. That was pretty quick tonight. The next item on the agenda is the general meeting. We have deliberations only on the following. Proposed amendment to Darien Zoning Map COZM number 1 20-2022, Land Filling Regrading Application number 524, Frank Bongiorno at 78 West Avenue. Proposal to rezone the 78 West Avenue property from residential 1/2 to residential 1/5. Proposal to raise the existing residence, construct a new single-family dwelling, generally same location, install pool, patio, new driveway and perform related site development activities, including the regrading of the property, installation of stormwater management. This was the application we saw last week, that it's on a row of houses that was all zoned 1/5. It looked back in 1959 that this was zoned 1/5. It looks like a 1/5 acre house, but it's bigger. Somehow or other it gets switched into a 1/2 acre zone. And they want to switch it back to 1/5 so they don't have to go through all the variances. It's consistent with what we've been trying to do in the town plan PC or PCOD for the last
POCD, yeah.
POCD for the last 5 years. Any questions on this one from anybody? Pretty straightforward. Okay. With that said, we should instruct staff to draft up an approval of this application. Everyone in agreement with that? Nod your head. We're good. Jim? Fantastic. All right.
We'll go ahead and do that and try to have something for your review on March 1st for this one.
Fantastic. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is coastal site plan review number 366, flood damage prevention application number 419, land filling and regrading application number 525, Leslie Sutton at 23 Long Neck Point Road. Proposal to raise the existing residence to construct a new single-family dwelling with an attached carriage house in generally the same location, construction of a new driveway and a patio area, retaining walls, and perform related site development activities within regulated areas, including the regrading of the property, installation of stormwater management. This was the house that's kind of sort of at the end, not too far at the end, but close to the end of Long Neck Point. There's a house, there's a kind of sort of attached carriage house, which has got a garage on the ground floor and a little bit of an attic on the second floor that's not high enough to be able to stand there. There's some patios and whatnot. There's a partial basement under the entire house. There's no basement under the garage or the carriage house, if that's what we're going to call it. The rerouting the driveway. The application was presented by, who was it presented by? Harry Rochfeld, wasn't it, Harry?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe it was presented by Harry Rocheville of McCord Engineering.
Yep. It was pretty straightforward. They did not build it lot line to lot line and max out the lot at all. But it looks like it's going to be a nice house, and they're taking care of it. Any questions or comments on this one? Anything on this one, George? You're in the middle. No, you good? Jim, any questions on this one? Nope. Carrie, you good with this one?
Yep.
Okay. Jeff and Adam.
Yeah. All set.
Okay. Then we'll instruct staff to draft up a resolution for this one, approving it with the conditions that we talked about. It's probably an as-built survey too.
Yes. Okay. We'll make sure that gets in there, and we'll draft something for your consideration again on March 1st.
Fantastic. The next item relates into 3 Parklands. Carrie, you want to stick around for this, or are you going to check out?
Up to you guys.
I mean, you're more than welcome to sit in the general public if you want to.
Just sit here like a, yeah. I can do the dip. Yeah, no, do you want me to come back for the chairman's report?
Yeah, why don't you do that? Are we going to do a chairman's report? I don't know if we're going to do that.
It's up to you.
We did it last week.
Yeah, we did do it last week.
Did it last week.
Yeah, we're gonna skip that. I don't have my notes with me. They're in the car. So we're done.
Okay, bye. I mean, I
Thanks.
might listen just because it's interesting, but like that's it. I won't opine or, jump in.
The next item on the agenda is site plan application number 309. She's allowed to stay, right? Doesn't matter. She do whatever she wants. Yeah.
She can hang around if
sit in
in
the back
the
of the
public if she wishes to do so.
Site plan application number 309, special permit application number 42I, land filling and regrading application number 516, Parklands, Darien LLC, 1 Parklands Drive, and 3 Parklands Drive. Do you want me to read this one more time? We've read it into the record about 10 times. We're good. Okay. This is the resolution that we have. We got a resolution last week from staff that was dated February 15th, which is today. They put a redraft in our packet, which we all got on Thursday or Friday. Today, we sent out another red line that some people, hopefully everybody got it. or actually Blackland, I'm sorry. Hope everybody got it. Making some minor changes. I did not go through the Blackland again, but I can go through over here. How about if we start at the top? What we do on these things sometimes, the big ones, Adam, is we kind of go through by page. If you have any items you want to jump on, if I could ask you to go first, that would be great. And you can go page by page if you want to, or just any highlights, any questions or things you might have. Do you want to tell us, hold on one second, Adam. You want to tell us anything that's materially different from the last one versus this one? So everybody's on the same page?
Based on what you deliberated on last week, there really aren't any significant substantive or material changes to this resolution. Mostly cleanup items. We added a few items to the back of the resolution under as-built and certifications with regard to the draft conservation easement documentation and map that we're requiring, Commission is requiring be filed in the Darien land records. Certification shall be provided by the landscape architect for plantings on the site prior to a full certificate of occupancy being issued for the building. Just looking over this real quick to see if there's anything else of real noteworthiness in terms of substantive comments, and I don't believe there is.
Let me just bring in one item. This again, everybody, it was written up as an approval with modification of conditions effective on February 27th. At the end of the day, this settles on 55 housing units. So it's modified and reduced from the 60 in the application down to 55. And we're maintaining the 7 deed restricted affordable units.
Correct. And I should note that the resolution that you deliberated on last week had 57 units.
57 in some spots, 55
right, 57 in some spots, 55 in others. The resolution was amended to reflect 55, the commission approving a total of 55 units, including 7 deed restricted affordable units as part of those units.
Okay. Adam, you want to go first, sir?
Sure. So really, obviously, this hasn't changed much since our deliberations last week. So my main concern with it is that on item K for the landscaping, we give them an option of posting essentially 2 different types of bonds, but to me, they're more or less the same. But on the drain water management, we don't give them the option. I think we force them into just one type of bond, although I can't find the note of it now. So on item K in landscaping, which is on close to the middle third of it, do we want to just limit that to 1 of the 2 and just say you have to do 1?
That's up to the commission.
Post 2 different bonds. Why don't we make them post the same type either way, not this way for one and then this way potentially for another?
That's a good point. What was the other letter you were talking about? You said what?
The drain, wherever I'm trying to find the note, the drainage, which I think is the more important of the 2, than the planting. The planting is item K on landscaping and screening. I'm trying to find the drainage bond stipulation.
R.
It's R.
R, that's why I keep looking the other way. Yeah, so for R, you just have a surety bond of 10%, and that's it. But on item K, we either have a full value one or a 10% performance bond. I would like to see the drainage be a little bit stronger because I think that's more important than the planting bond. But it seems inconsistent that in one spot we ask that the developer to pick one, and then in another spot we tell them to just do one. So I don't know if there's any reason why we decided to do that in item K versus item R. You know, you can give them the choice in both, or you say do this in both cases. So that I was unaware of what was going on there.
Yeah, so I'm reading it as giving the applicant a choice in both instances here. Let's hit the landscaping and screening first under item or condition K. The developer builder shall post a surety bond for the full value of the installation of the buffer plantings. Alternatively, the developer builder may post a performance bond with the town for the installation in the amount of 10%. And then quickly jumping over to condition R under stormwater management, the developer builder shall post a surety bond for the full value of installation of stormwater management infrastructure. Alternatively, the applicant or builder may post a performance bond with the town of Darien for 10%.
I don't know why I thought R was just the 10%. Do we want to, is one stronger than the other? Aren't they both more or less surety bonds?
The performance bond is held by the town of Darien. A surety bond would be issued by an insurance company for the full value of the work to be performed, as opposed to the town of Darien holding funds in escrow for 10% of the estimated value of the work to be performed.
So the surety bond is more of like a letter of credit.
Yeah.
In my opinion, letter of credit.
Yeah.
It's the reason why, because some people like putting up money, other people really like putting up letters of credit. I've seen it done both ways. I don't know why. You know, we don't necessarily know who's going to be the builder, developer. It might be the applicant. It might be a different person. I mean, that's kind of sort of, I've seen it go both ways.
But I get for the protection of the town, doesn't it make more sense to have the insurance company cover the full, or the bank cover the full thing with a line of credit? And why don't we just not even get, like, why give them the option, period? I mean, I get it out of their end, even for their line of credit, they're not going to need to post the full collateral. But like, why give the option at all? That's why I just don't see the reason to do that.
Most of the time we do bonds.
A lot of the time we do bonds. If the commission wants to go in the direction of only requiring the surety bond, we're okay with that.
But we've never really done it that way. I thought it was mostly performance bonds.
Historically, in the past, it has mostly been performance bonds. I don't know if we have done surety bonds in the past.
That's what I thought.
I'm
Yeah,
not quite sure.
I don't know if we've ever done. I can't recall of us doing surety bonds that often. So maybe that's something new you added this go around.
That's something new that we added this go around.
And maybe it's because of the value, because usually a surety bond, the cost is 1% of whatever the number is. That's what the bank charges you.
Right, it's going to be way less.
Yeah. But but we usually do the performance bonds. Okay, let's keep going. We'll listen to everybody, and then we'll come back to see if we can come up with an answer versus, you know.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't have any other really things that I'd like to discuss inside of the resolution. I think it's mostly constructed with, you know, obviously addressing all the points that we've discussed for the last several meetings.
Okay, thank you. George Riley, you're underneath my name. You want to go next, sir, on this, sir?
So globally speaking about this, the one area I might nitpick a little bit is in reference to the applicant owner and who's responsible. I guess it's the same area we were just talking about in item P of stormwater management. We're talking about the owner in the future being responsible for remedying any situation that may arise concerning stormwater management. And it's a little unclear about this language about whether that's the current owner, applicant, property owner, or the future owner. So just to play lawyer a little bit, where you're referring to the applicant property owner, you might add its successors and assigns.
That's a good idea.
And down below where it says, if such problems do become evident in the future, you might say the then owner of the property shall be responsible. I think that might make it a little clearer as to whom you're referring to.
Okay,
Sure, we can add that.
that's a great idea. So let's make sure we get it in the way it's good. It's everyone's doing its successors. Okay,
Yeah,
so the building,
Steve,
why don't you read what you're gonna read?
there are multiple references throughout the document that talk about the property owner shall have continuing obligation, or the property owner or builder developer shall have certain obligations to fulfill as part of this approval. We can certainly go through this document and replace that language with what Mr. Riley suggests as far as successors and assigns.
What you do at the beginning?
Or if you can find a place early on in the document and say all references to the applicant owner are intended to refer to its successors and assigns or future owners. And then you don't have to go to all of them. Something like that.
Yeah,
Agreed.
yeah,
Yeah.
we can do that, sure.
Because up top it says the name of the applicant and property owner is Parklands LLC. And then we're switching it to builder and whatnot. That was one of my changes last year. That's a good catch, George. Thank you.
Yep, hope it helps.
Anything else?
The only other comment I had was about the public comment, paragraph 66. I'm not sure we've done justice to the extent of the comments that we received, virtually all of them negative in 6 lines there. I think we might have embellished that, but I haven't taken the time to try and do that, so I just throw that out there. I think we have in the past itemized particular critiques and whatnot, but a lot of folks gave a lot of effort on, and although I'm not sure anybody will ever, any of that public will ever read this thing anyway, but I just, I throw that out for what it's worth. Beyond that, I don't think I have any particular comments. As you know, I still don't approve of 55 units, so I don't expect to favor this resolution overall, but on the off chance it gets through, maybe those comments are helpful.
Thank you very much. No, everyone's comments is appreciated, whether you agree with the final resolution or not, but thank you. The only thing I would venture to guess with regards to item 66, we can maybe boost it up a little bit, but there was a overlap between the 2 applications. One was the zone change, and one was the site plan and landfilling and regrading application. Some of the comments, all the comments relative to the PDOC, how this doesn't, conform to changing the zoning, that was in the other item.
Okay, good.
Correct. There were
Yeah.
The commission made findings with respect to public comment made on applying the overlay zone to the subject property as well. That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, George. Who's next? Jim Rand, you want to go next? You're underneath George. Anything jump out at you?
No,
we don't care.
I can, We could talk about the number of units if this is the appropriate time to do it, otherwise I'll wait.
Anytime. Go ahead, talk about the number of units.
Look, as far as the public comment and so forth are concerned, the issues enumerated in the draft have all been addressed. I appreciate that the neighbors and others don't want this project to proceed as proposed, but I fail to see that the commission has grounds to arbitrarily suggest that it be some number under 60, which is what they've applied for. Now, in the spirit of flexibility, since we have two things that we are concerned about, one being the number of units and the second be the apportionment between the market price units and the other units, I might suggest that rather than focus on the number of units in total, that, as I say, I don't think we have the grounds to do, and B, it's not going to make any difference in the overall the size of the overall structure. That we leave it at 60 and increase the other units. Make it 60 and 8 affordable units. Let me ask the chairman or Fred. There's a number of units, the size of this development, that makes sense economically to the property owner, to the applicant. I don't know where that line is drawn. Maybe it's 45 units, maybe it's 55 units, I have no idea. But if this application were to be declined or approved at a level that was below wherever that line is, what are the applicant's alternatives? I'm not suggesting they don't have alternatives. I just want to know what they are.
I can make an initial start at it. One of the alternatives is to do nothing, is to keep it an office building.
Well,
because we put the overlay on it.
That's if it was a fruitful exercise, a profitable investment, as it is, why then try to change it?
Why they try to change it to residential?
Right.
I mean, right now the building has a low occupancy.
Okay.
Right, so it has the ability, if the building gets vacated, to make it into a different use. You know, there are a couple of tenants in the Darien market that are looking around for space. One of those tenants that looks around for space next week and wants 40,000 square feet in a single tenant building, and they want to move in within the next year or so, they may change their plan. It's options. I mean, I've seen other people do that. That's the easiest option they could do. Even if it gets approved or denied, they don't have to go through with this. I mean, that happens around town a lot, where people get approvals to build additions or, you know, put in a pool and never put in a pool because it didn't make sense at some point in time. The other item is if it if we change this, they could, every application we can get appealed. You know, we always know that. Every application can get appealed. We get them appealed now and again. And then what happens if they can appeal it twice, or it goes up to the state? That I forget. And they can pull it back. You know, there's other things that the town can do. What else can you think of that you want to mention?
The applicant, the potential, the project sponsor could, you know, take the approval as granted by the commission and build the project with 55 units and the conditions listed as part of the approval. As Steve mentioned, the applicant could appeal the decision by the commission.
7-Eleven did not appeal their decision. You know,
Yeah.
when we get that, and I don't really know what's going to happen with Duchess, but that's, to me, I think Duchess is going to stay there. The other one that we denied recently was 77 Leroy, when they wanted to switch it from 62 and over to 55 and over. They appealed that decision that we had, and I think we won on the appeal. Where it's going to go from there, I don't think it goes anywhere. I think even the timeline passed on that, right? Yeah, but there's a statutory number to appeal it.
Yes, and I'm not entirely sure right offhand what that number is, but
yeah,
yes, I believe it's 30 days.
They could put in another application that's smaller, you know, if they wanted to. Someone could put in, you know, 45 townhouses or something like that if they want to redesign it, or 45 condos. There's a multitude of answers, I think, on that.
Can I just comment to Mr. Rand, with all due respect, Jim? Your comment that they can't, that the owner has the right to do the 60 units, I think is faulty in that we apply conditions all the time. We don't often have the opportunity to apply conditions concerning numbers of units, but we have done that, and we certainly can do that. And so I understand, well, you know, they're maximizing what they can do. I think we have the ability to add a condition which reduces it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of what's it, 10,005 for one. It's in it's a special permit application, right, for 1,005.
The standards of approval under the special permit regs, section 1005 of the regulations. Yeah, the commission needs to make findings relative to the intensity of use of the development, and those sorts of adjustments and conditions can be placed on the approval to assure that the impacts of the development don't rise to the level of impacting traffic and safety and other potential impacts to adjoining neighbors and the local roadways.
Yeah, I mean, we redesigned the Royal. That was a change from the original application. I don't know if we answered your question, Jim, but we tried to.
Well, okay, I appreciate it. I mean, I think I don't recall the details of all the applications that we've approved with changes, but the ones I do remember seem to have had good and valid reasons for our decision. I'm thinking mostly of Duchess. I'm not sure that we have those reasons in this application. And I think that an action other than approving pretty close to what the applicant has asked for is going to be found to be without justification. But I've said my I've said my piece.
Okay, thank you. I mean, everyone's opinion on the commission is important. And you know, you've been on the commission for a while and seen a lot of these things, so it's very welcome. We can always come back to Jeff Ball. You want to chime in at this point, sir?
Nothing to add from what's already been said, and you know, like Mr. Riley or Commissioner Riley said, my overall resolution as to the size of it isn't going to change based on, you know, the comments I've made over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. Is there any, I mean, is there anything that's important in the commission that you can think of that you want us to include or not include?
I mean, I think it was already included in last week's that, you know, I just thought that the overall size is still too big, and that, you know, I can't say that it's necessarily been addressed or denied, but, you know, it still needs to be, you know, smaller than where it currently is.
Understood. Okay. All right, let me see if let me go through my comments. Anything in here? Let's just walk through it slowly. I think I got everybody, right? 1, 2, 3, because Kara's not here. 1, 2, 3.
Can I add a thought that Mr. Rand prompted that I have had?
Of course you can.
That is, as Jim was saying, maybe what we're doing is going to be tough to justify if we cut it to 55 or so. And I have that concern in that small a reduction could look more arbitrary than actually a more substantial reduction, because I think it will be easier to show that a more substantial reduction would substantially reduce the traffic, would substantially reduce the number of people, and reduce the use perhaps of Sellers Woods and Dunlop Pond and whatnot. And I would think they would not need the same size structure, and so that you know, that would change impervious surfaces, et cetera. I don't, you know, I don't have all the answers to those things, but I think if you are removing 20 units, that is you're going to be able to defend that in terms of the nature of the change more readily than you can just 5 units.
I think the justification, I came out at the beginning saying 10%, which would have been 6, right? And 5% is 3, so it's somewhere between, you know, 5% and 10% reduction. I don't think a 10% or a 5% reduction is not immaterial. I think it matters. If you took off 1 for some reason, you know, that's maybe the reason for it. I don't know, but I mean, that's where I came out of the box at.
Okay, but that's, you know, 5 or 6 cars and 5 or 6 or maybe 10 or 12 people, as opposed to reducing it by 20 units where the numbers are obviously magnified. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to address Mr. Balgach's concern about the affordable units, which I share, and it is regrettable that we would lose some of those. But if we did even a 36% reduction, which I'm not, you know, I've used 20 or 33% reduction, that would cost us 3 units, I suspect. And I haven't done the math, so I don't know if there's a fraction there, but if Mr. Rand is right that we could just say, well, instead of 6, we'll make it 7 affordable units, and we could do that here too. Instead of 4, make it 5, or however that works out. I don't know, but I agree it'd be an unfortunate reduction, but there would still be 4 affordable units.
If I could, I don't want this to end up to be a disagreement between Commissioner Riley and myself. The reason I say we don't have grounds, the park. We got a letter from the people that own the park to say we welcome more people. That's why we've got parks, parenthetically, but that's a different issue. We've got a traffic engineer who says it's okay. Less traffic than the office building. I may be incorrectly summarizing some of these points. But if we're going to do this to address this issue or that issue, which issues are enumerated in the draft, I think you got to say that we've, those issues have been addressed. The one other issue that I did not want to mention, I hoped I could con the chairman into mentioning it, was among the alternatives is an 830G application. Now, what's going to be harder to control if our goal is to control the size and type of this application, or the development that results from this application? Is it going to be this application, or is it going to be an 830G application? Bearing in mind, we lost the last one.
I mean, to answer your question, any site in town, we do not have a moratorium. Any site in town can be subject to an 830G application if it's on, if it's, near a main road, or it's served by water and sewer.
Okay.
Any site.
I mean, I don't understand the nuances of the 830G regulations, but what is it, 5 or 6 or 7 or however many floors it's going to be, and what, not 60 but 75 or 80 or 90 units. The fact that I'm nervous about the arbitrary nature of what we've been discussing, combined with unattractive alternatives to the neighbors and the citizens of town, the residents of town that appointed us, gives me pause.
Okay.
But particularly in light of the fact that this conforms to our regulations. I mean, you may not like it, but it does conform.
It conforms to the bulk regulations, yes, 100%. But because this is a special permit application, it has to go through section 1005, which has got to be in harmony with the neighbors and effect values and all those items that are in 1005. That's the beauty of a special permit. And it was the zoning code, the overlay was written to be able to come with the special permit. Some of the items in the special permit are, yes, they are traffic. They're NORS, it's health and safety. Did they go through the exercise of proving the traffic is correct? And it works? Yeah, it doesn't get any better. It's still, I don't remember the exact numbers again, but you're correct. It was a class D intersection. After this is done, it's going to be a class D intersection. A fully occupied office building creates more traffic than a fully occupied apartment building. But that's some of the differences. But the beauty of a special permit is to be able to check those additional extra boxes. And it's, you can read, Fred can read some of the items in there that gives us the grounds. If you don't mind, can you pick out a couple that are there? Where it talks, it's got to be in harmony. That's where.
Yeah. So section 1005 standards for approval under the special permit regulations. The commission may authorize the issuance of a special permit after considering the health, safety, and welfare of the public in general and the immediate neighborhood in particular, and provided the commission shall make the following findings. So 1005A, the location and size of the use, the nature and intensity of the operations involved in, or conducted in connection with it, the size of the site in relation thereto, and the location of the site with respect to streets giving access to it shall be such that shall be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the district in which it is located. 1005B, the location, nature, size, and height of the buildings, walls, and fences, and the nature and extent of landscaping, screening, lighting, and signs shall be such that the use shall not hinder or discourage the appropriate development and use of adjacent land and buildings or impair the value thereof.
I mean, that's got nothing to do with, it has to be, you know, 42.5 feet tall or 37.5 feet tall, and you have to have parking. That's more of a general thing. And to George's point, and I hear exactly what you say, Jim. I'm not, you know, these are constructive discussions. Is in the past we have reduced project sizes, you know, and they have been reduced a little bit. Jeremy just got here, so it's not like the first time it's being done. I can assure you of that.
Well, I understand that, but I think that I'm not a lawyer, everybody knows that, but I think that much of the weight of the, let's say, the totality of the items that Fred just read through were seeded by the Planning and Zoning Commission years ago when the office building was built. As I say, I don't want to. One of the nice things about this commission is we can always discuss amicably, and I don't want to be the cause of any animus among the members. I've said my piece. I'm done. Thanks.
Thank you. With regards to the height, I thought there's a part here where we're limiting the height per floors. Is that what I remember? What item that is?
We are limiting the floor to ceiling height to a maximum of 9 feet.
Do you know what page that's on?
I think it's one of the early findings, page 2 or 3, if I recall.
Thank you.
I don't know if that would have been a finding or a condition of approval. Condition C, the commission hereby limits the floor to ceiling height to a maximum of 9 feet for each of the 3 floors above the parking garage, and the overall height of the building to a maximum of 35 feet.
Okay. So that's really above grade. So it's 3 times 9 is 27, and there's 5 feet on top of that.
Correct. The 9 feet does not include the parking garage, which we understand that some additional height is needed in the parking garage to allow for the necessary circulation of vehicles and mechanicals, that sort of thing.
Hey, Jeff Paul, you're still there, right? Where's Jeff? The fire truck. What's the height of the fire truck usually? Clear that they want.
I mean, it depends on which ladder truck goes in. I mean, but I mean, a ladder truck's not going to go into a parking garage.
Right.
But a regular engine could, but usually 9 times out of 10, we stay outside to fight a fire from outside versus going in. So.
Yeah, I was confused a little bit with Palmer's, where the fire truck can go underneath that parking garage. Okay. So it's 9 times 3 is 27 plus 35 is 6 plus the parking garage is 12. So it's 35 plus like 15.
We also understand from the architectural drawings that were submitted as part of the application that the floor to ceiling height is noted at 8 feet 10 inches. So it is slightly lower than that maximum height of 9 feet.
Okay. All right, so the changes that we're going to make to this with regards to, at the beginning, George Riley's suggestion of successors and assigns and builders and whatnot, where do you want to put that at the beginning? Is Jeremy, I want to just bring you up to speed if you don't mind.
Sure.
A couple of the comments that we had were the first item, which is easy. Maybe it's not easy. Nothing's easy. Is in certain spots we turn it from applicant to builder, developer, owner.
Right.
One of the items that George suggested, you picked up on it. It says the property owner, and we were going to make that more of like a definition at the beginning, where it says the owner, successors, or assigns, and make that like a definition at the beginning, so to speak. Is that the proper way to say it?
Sure.
Where do you think would be a good spot to put that? Because if you look at the very beginning, it says the name of the name, address of applicant and property owner is Parklands LLC. Right? And then,
Yeah,
I guess we can put a sentence under that saying, you know, when we refer to owner or applicant or builder, as George said, maybe it's should be their assigns, because at this point it is undetermined who the contractor and builder will be, or developer even for that matter. And so we can put a little note right under that on page 1. Is that what you're thinking, George?
Yeah, I think that would work well as a global answer. Yeah.
I would move that to one of the first findings on page 2, as opposed to putting it in on the first page, which specifically highlights the activity being applied for and the property location. I would put it as one of the first findings of the resolution, where we establish that.
do you want to make it finding number, I'm going to say 2A, somewhere there?
Just
Because the first time I saw that the applicant, where it goes applicant slash build developer shows up, is on page 15, where it's item E in number 1. So the applicants, and then it gets switched to builder developer.
we could put in a new finding under finding 1 that defines
All references made.
Yeah, all references made that specifically references that successors and assigns, and the then owner, which Commissioner Riley also mentioned, with respect to property owner, builder, developer, applicant, project sponsor,
Right.
thrown around a lot of different terms there. So it would make sense to better define that. And I think creating a new second finding on page 2 of this resolution might be a good place to do that.
Sounds like a plan. Good.
Okay.
The point being, we're referring to whoever the owner is at the time of the issue arising.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
The other item, Jeremy, to bring you up a little bit up to speed is Commissioner Adam, we were talking about the surety bonds versus the performance bond, and it comes up in I think R, and it comes up in K. We're given the options here to do that. Can you just give us some can you just give us some thought on that one?
Usually we're pretty, in my time here, we've been pretty flexible in terms of bonds. There's many ways to post a performance bond. Some people just give a check and we put it in a separate account. Some people get an actual insurance bond, which is a written document from an insurance company that the improvements will be made. So really what happens is staff works directly with, I'll call it the builder developer on what works for them and their financial institution. Everyone does things a little differently, but as long as we get the ability, and that's the key here, the ability to call a bond and make sure the work is done, that's all we're looking for, is that confidence. So we're pretty flexible. We work with people on and builders on what works for their group. Everyone's a little different, but as long as we get the confidence that we can be flexible.
So in your opinion, you think the items we're talking about are K as in Kit Kat and R as in Riley?
Yeah.
Leave those where they are?
I would leave them the way they are.
Is that okay with you, Adam?
So the town, when someone writes a check, essentially the town has the credit risk towards that person versus an insurance company or a line of credit from a bank. The town has, a credit relationship with the bank. We're not concerned at all about the difference in counterparty risk there.
No, I think
I would think in a project like, like if it's somebody putting in a pool, fine, cut them a check. It's not that big of a deal. But for something like this, wouldn't the town prefer that the credit risk be against like a financial institution versus just like the developer handing over 10% of the expected costs and then saying, I'll definitely pay you the other 90 if I don't do the work?
we have not had that experience. What we usually find is the leverage that we have that seems to be the greatest leverage is the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. I had one just a couple weeks ago where things weren't, in my opinion, done perfectly. So we said, we'll give you a temporary CO, which would allow you to keep finishing up the project and move people in. And his bank would not take a temporary CO. So from that standpoint, in that specific instance, the fact that we didn't issue a permanent CO lit the spark to get the work done. So even in that case, the temporary CO just wasn't enough for his bank to have the comfort level. So really beyond the bonds, the ultimate leverage the town has is the issuance of a temporary certificate of occupancy as well as a permanent certificate of occupancy, which we find actually stronger than the bonds.
Okay, so as long as the town is comfortable, because it seems like that's a lower quality, counterparty, risk than what you would get if they actually went and got a line of credit or, some sort of, guarantee from an insurance company. So as long as the town feels comfortable with that, I just want to make sure we're not exposing ourselves, but otherwise fine.
Great, thank you, Adam. I think those are the only main things we talked about.
Yeah, I think that might be it, Steve.
Okay. So we fixed, right now it's written up as 55 units and 7 deed restricted affordables. We changed the successors and assigns at the beginning, so we're creating another item. You're gonna call it 4 and move everybody down one. So on page 3, it says zoning regulation amendment. It starts at 3. Is that gonna get switched to 4?
That'll get flipped. Yeah, so everything after that new find, we're adding a new finding under 1. So that new finding will be finding 2, and then everything else will
Oh, okay.
will trickle from there. So everything will be.
So 2 is gonna go to 3. Okay.
Yeah, 2 is gonna go to 3, 3 is gonna go to 4, etc.
Okay, that's fine. 2 inches high. Noise. We talked about that. Those are the really only items that we have to edit. So we're gonna. Are we ready to? It looks like we're ready to call for a vote on this thing. Good, George.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I neglected to raise a while ago, being sensitive to our friends, it's the residents of Selleck's Woods. VV calls for construction activities from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 p.m. struck me as late. Is that what you typically do? I was surprised and wonder if it didn't be earlier.
What page was that, George?
VV on the second to last page.
Typically, George, construction hours in Darien are sunup to sundown. So depending on the time of year, you might have people working before 7 a.m. And on a nice summer evening where the sun is out till 7 or 8 p.m., it's rare, certainly, but there are times people are working late. By limiting it to, now again, there's two ways to look at it. One is the amount of work to finish this project is the same. So whether you stretch it out, 2 hours a day for 20 years or 20 hours a day for 2 years, it's the same number of hours. But I think by putting 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., it is a little bit of a limit over the normal sunup to sundown.
Page 21.
And yet it's kind of early and kind of late for our friends at the residences, it seems to me. But if there's no sentiment that accordingly, then so be it. So be it.
Well, time out. Do you know what's inside, like a federal or a corporate district one?
I don't know if there were any limits on those. Again, when you look at Corbin, that's in the middle of downtown. I don't recall other construction limits. It is rare that the commission would put construction limits on a project. If you think of a typical house going in, there are no limits other than sunup to sundown.
Yeah, the only time I really remember this getting to be an issue was when we did Tokenie Club, and that's dead smack in the middle of a residential neighborhood.
Right.
Those truck deliveries at 7 a.m. could be annoying, and I don't know. Just my view, but if I'm standing alone, okay.
You're not standing alone. It's trust you. You're
All
not.
right.
Okay. How about if we switch to 6 p.m.?
I would consider that better.
Is that all right with you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think that's fine with me. I don't think that's a big, we don't usually see a lot of work going on after 6 p.m. Usually the desire for contractors and builders is to start before 7 a.m. And oftentimes, I think there was a school project where they really wanted to get started earlier. And that's one, if I recall, the commission said, no, 7 a.m. is still, for many people, early. So if you say 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Okay. You okay with that, George? Everybody okay with that? Good. I'm getting head nods. Okay. Thank you, George. The other item that we did want to touch on, and I don't know if you were here or not, Jim, when we were talking about it, was where is it? Item number 66 under public comment. We had a lot of public comment on this one. The question was, do we want to beef up that paragraph at all?
Well, I know when Fred wrote this and I looked at it, I certainly wanted to, the intent is certainly there was a lot of public comment. We did touch here in paragraph 66 about the various topics: traffic, parking, impacts to Selleck's Woods, Dunlop Woods, stormwater impacts, intensity of development, number of proposed units, size and height of the building, lighting, noise. So certainly we tried to summarize all the features, all the issues, and very specifically we put in here all the comments received on the proposal have been considered by the commission and are included as part of the record on the matter. So there were a number of comments. I think we hit on almost every topic that was discussed during the hearing.
Great. The only thing that I said in earlier was that some of the comments were specifically related to the POCD and the overlay zone. That's passed. So we're already past that. So we're okay with paragraph 66 as it's written.
when we start drilling down into the specific issues regarding each of these general items that we've noted here, so there, as Jeremy mentioned, you know, traffic, parking, potential impacts to size and height, and lighting and noise. When you drill down into the specific details of you know, each of the public comments received, you know, over the 9 hours of public hearings we've had, I'm not quite sure where you draw the line of sort of going into the details.
No, I got you. Okay. All right. So we'll just leave that the way it is then. I mean, George made a good note, and we did it. Some of the others there. Okay. All right. So we're gonna add at the beginning. We're gonna add a new paragraph 2, and move all the other these are not all the other items down, the findings down. So that's all going to change, which is really just numbering. With that's the big item. We didn't change the surety bonds. We didn't change paragraph 66. We noted the height limitation that's in here. We changed the hours. We changed the hours to 6 p.m. I think that's it. Okay. With that said, I'm looking for a motion to approve this draft resolution as edited. Someone make that motion. Adam makes a motion. I'm looking for a second. Jim Rand, can you second this, or George Riley second it?
I can't, I intend to vote against it, Steve, so there's no point in me moving it.
Oh, okay. So what do we do? I can't make a second, right?
But I think you can make a second. But Jim, I thought at the last meeting you said you were in favor.
No, Jeremy.
Now Jeremy's bullying him.
I beg your pardon?
I think someone from the general public just chimed in. Okay, am I allowed to make a second?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll second the motion to pass it as amended. All those in favor?
Mr. Chairman, may I move an amendment to the resolution and substituting 40 units in lieu of 55 units?
Is there a second to that amendment? Want to discuss it? Okay, there's a second. There's a second to the amendment. Jeff Ball approved the amendment. We get to vote on the amendment. All those in favor of George's amendment to switch 55 to 40, say aye.
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 Okay, I'll raise your hand. Who's
Now we're confused.
No, you're not confused. George said yes.
Those in favor are raising their hand?
Yep, George said yes. Jeff Ball said yes, and Adam says yes. Okay. So 55 just got changed to 40. Okay. Where does that take us? Okay. So it was amendment made to the resolution. The resolution just got changed. So now everything changes from 55 to 40. Okay.
Okay.
Steve, George proposed an amendment to 40.
Yes.
It did not get a majority vote.
He got 3 out of 5.
What was I doing when I was sleeping?
Jeff Ball voted yes. Adam voted yes, and George Riley voted yes.
Apologies, my mistake.
Right? Okay. So now, what do we do? We discuss it and then vote on it, I guess. Okay, any discussion on the new draft resolution that is now 40 housing units? I don't know how all the other items get changed, but
Yeah, if the commission is going with a reduction from 55 to 40 units with this resolution, there are additional modifications that I suspect would need to be made to some of these conditions of approval, and I'm not quite sure what those are at the moment without going through them one by one. So
Yeah, as I said at the last meeting, the goal of that staff had was to draft a resolution based on the majority of the commission, based on your deliberations on February 1st and February 8th. And I know Fred circled back with you to answer any questions you may have had. So that's why you have the document in front of you that you do. It was based upon prior conversations of the commission.
understood. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's all that much substantial that would have to change, but you guys wrote it, so you'll know better than I do. But,
Jim, why don't you talk about your 1031 theory, 831 theory?
Don, we have to have you mute your microphone.
We could certainly proceed with the motion and if need be amended to say subject to technical corrections.
Yep. Or you can make a motion to make it 60 from 40. Well, okay. Yeah, we can make a motion to make it 60 units versus 55 units, or a different number.
If we need 40, do we have to change the height of the building? Because then that requires a lot more. We can make it 40 and they could just put in 40 units in the same structure of the building.
Yeah, and they could all be 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms. Right, you get the same square footage.
I think it makes sense to consider this on the basis of approving it or the way it's been put on the table, approving it or disapproving it with, as George says, technical corrections or logical amendments or whatever, and get the fundamental issue of, is it going to be 40, is it going to be 60, is it going to be something else, off the table.
Right.
That would be my suggestion. I have no idea how to make it a motion, but
Can we set a number of units or less? Make it up to the, because if we're only making technical corrections, we could say it could be 1 unit, and then it's just one giant apartment building, one big apartment. I don't know who would move in there, but we could do that as well. If we said something like 60 or less, 40 or less, some other language, maybe that's a better idea to get a majority vote here.
You can make that motion if you want to. You're more than welcome to.
Yeah, you certainly don't see applications with that kind of provision in it. And if you did, I'm sure the board would want to specify the number that we had in mind. But I would agree with you. If it's less than 40, I'd be well pleased.
Or you can do not greater than, 55 or 657 or 60. Okay, so there's no other motions on the table. We have a resolution that it has an amendment that was voted on, that was seconded and passed to change it from 40 to 60, from 60 to 40. Is there any other discussion on that?
Actually, from 55 to 40.
Yeah, correct, from 55 down to 40.
Adam, if you made that motion, I would second it. If you move that it be no, 40 or less.
I don't think that addresses the concerns of the height of the building, which I think is the root cause of it versus the number of units, right?
Right. I would be.
That's why I'm okay. I'm with you. I think that it's 40 or is better, but
Can
55
we?
or less, 50 or less might be a little bit better. Some way to get the height of the building down is the primary goal, not the number of units, so to speak, inside of it.
And, right. When we drafted this, it was based upon the comments about the building height. I know George at a previous meeting talked about the desire to take off the top floor, if you will. But when we looked at the architectural plans, in fact, one of Steve's questions to me was, oftentimes with office buildings, you have large foyers with 12-foot ceilings, very tall first floor ceilings, or tall ceilings overall, like, for example, the building I'm sitting in now. So when Fred and I looked at the plans, we realized that the way it was drawn was the architect had already squeezed that extra space out. So if you look at the existing architecturals, the floor to ceilings are all 9 foot, which is very much a very basic size in terms of height. So there's no oversized floor to ceilings that could be squeezed out. And I know when George spoke last time about taking off, I'll call it the entire third floor, I think that was George's approach to get a reduction in the intensity, was to reduce from 60 and just chop the third floor off, and then presumably you're chopping 1/3 of the units. And I guess Steve's perspective was a little different, was take the same number of units, but make sure the ceiling heights were not oversized, that they're, I'll call it bare bones, less than 9 feet, if you will.
So if I may, so if the current plan has 3 floors and they're all limited to 9 feet, so that's 27 feet, and we're allowing an extra, 8 feet, they can go up to 35 feet with whatever dormers, et cetera. So can we limit this to 18, two floors at 9 feet, 18 plus whatever they need, an additional 8, to say they can be 26, the height can be 26 feet?
So what you're saying, George, is make each floor a little taller.
No, not more than 9 feet.
Okay, so you would just say lop off the third floor is what you're saying.
Basically, that's right, yeah.
Is there any way we can push the parking garage further down to make it so that it's no more than 36 feet plus dormers off ground level versus off the top of the parking garage? Because it ends up at kind of the same place, but it requires more work.
I mean, we talked about this a little bit earlier when we talked about 1,005, but with regards to the height at 35 feet, which it's designed to, fits within the bulk regulations, right? Being in harmony with the neighborhood is where we're talking about the other items. But remember, you have a building next door that's taller than 35 feet, and it's 3 stories.
Right. This building will actually be smaller than the other building in terms of height, and it will sit lower than the other building.
But the other building's up higher, you can see from I-95. This one does, it stands today. This one you really can't even see from I-95.
So I don't think I heard an answer to whether we could limit it to 18, 2 floors of 9, and then give them their extra 8 feet for height for their dormers or whatever else it is.
If we're going to do something like that, you have to find a spot to put it in the resolution and change the resolution.
Well, I would change 35 feet to 26 feet.
Steve, excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a motion on the table?
We have a motion that was on the table that was passed to change it from 40 to 60. There's been no other motions to the resolution that. Now we're
From
doing
55 to 40.
55 to 40, correct. Now we're discussing the entire document in and of itself. And I think we're going to, where was the item? It was 9 feet we were talking about earlier. Oh, there it is. So it's item C. The commission hereby limits the floor to ceiling height to maximum 9 feet for each of 3 floors above the parking garage and overall height to 35 feet. So now I think George is discussing a motion, or Adam is discussion of potential to change item C as in Charlie.
Does that work if they were to build the 40 units on 2 floors? Does the logic work, at least, that would be adequate for them? I think I'm addressing Jeremy and Fred.
In terms of work, they would have to have the architect redesign it a little bit. They'd have to look at the units, reproportion it out. I mean, certainly, I didn't look at whether each of the 3 floors has the same ratio of bedrooms. So there would have to be some tweaks probably to the plan, would be my guess, in terms of figuring things out.
And I would agree with that. Then I think the building also gets over parked.
Is over parking a known problem?
It's
a lot of impervious surface. Well, hopefully they wouldn't want to spend money on unneeded space.
Right.
Is there any way we can continue this? Get some more feedback?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Adam. Sorry.
No, I know the deadline is tomorrow. Is there any way we can continue this? Because that seems like something we should consider if we can. I'm not sure if we can or not.
You have to request an extension from the applicant. And I don't know if we have time to get it, or else we'd have to call a special meeting tomorrow. Because the deadline.
What's the effect if they deny that and we haven't had a final vote? Is the application thereby rejected?
Yes. But I think the question is, Adam, I think to answer your question is, what do you foresee the extra time for the commission necessary for?
Well, back to Mr. Rand or Commissioner Rand's statement at 40 units, it may not be economically feasible to even continue on. So they might not even.
We don't get into economics. I mean, we're not. It's got nothing to do with us.
Right. Certainly, if the commission, just like with any plan, if the commission makes significant changes to any plan, and the applicant has a number of options from there. They can decide. They can decide not to build it, certainly, and say, you know what, or go back and redesign it. Certainly, they would have the opportunity to appeal it as well. But I think more time is the commission cannot take in any more information. So at this point, you have all the information you have to work with amongst the 5 of you to make a decision. So if there's any changes in the resolution, I guess that's what I'm looking for from the commission.
So,
So the thing that's left is item C as in Charlie.
so let me
Or-
just get on the record a motion in that regard. I would move that item C of the number of housing units and intensity of development be amended to provide a limitation of 2 residential floors to a maximum of 9 feet each and an overall height maximum of 26 feet.
There's a motion on the table. Does that get a second? Jeff Paul makes a second. Okay. All those in favor of changing item C to a maximum of 9 feet for, what did you say? I'm sorry, I missed it, George. You said 9 feet for,
2 residential floors, 9 feet each, maximum height of 26 feet.
And that, George, if I want to be clear, that's in conjunction with changing 55 to 40 throughout.
Yes. That amendment was already adopted, so I'm moving to amend that motion,
or a different item.
that result, yeah.
So it's 2 times 9 is 18, and then 26, so it's 8 feet on top of that. And that got a second from Jeff Ball. All those in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
All right. So that we got Adam approving that, Jeff Ball approving that, and George Riley approving that. Okay. Am I allowed to make a motion?
Yeah.
I would like to make a motion to make it 60 units with 8 affordables.
I'll second it.
Is there all those in favor of making that motion?
Aye.
Okay. Now we're back up to 60 units and 8 affordables. The other one would have been 40 units and 4 affordables plus money. Okay. Then if that's the case, we have to go back to item C and make another motion to bring the building back to was there
35.
35 feet, 9 foot height, and 3 floors. Does anybody want to make that motion?
Are you, what are you asking for, Steve? To change the language back to where it was before we went down to 40?
Yes.
I'll make it.
Okay. Does that motion get a second? Okay. All those in favor of that motion to change C back to 9 feet and 3 floors and 35 feet, say aye.
Let me just
Aye.
inquire in nature of discussion. They couldn't build this with 60 units with the limitations of 2 floors and 9 feet each, could they?
Right, that's why we just switched it back.
Okay, all right, well, yeah.
So
I don't, yeah, all right, I don't want to be seen as favoring that, but I think it's a practical necessity, but okay.
so
Seriously?
I think I want to summarize here because Fred and I want to make sure we get it right. There's been a number of motions, but the way the last 2 motions have been left is that Jim, Adam, and Steve voted to allow the project as designed, but just require 1 additional affordable unit while still allowing the height as in condition C. Those are the 2 latest motions I have here in my note taking. Is that correct? Steve,
That's
Jim,
right.
and Adam.
That's what I have
Yes.
also, yes.
Correct.
Okay.
So now the resolution is 60 units, 8 affordables,
Seriously.
a maximum height of 9 feet per floor times 3 floors and 35 feet in height.
You need a vote on that second amendment.
Oh, I thought we did vote on the second amendment. All right, can we vote on the second amendment again?
Did you already? I'm sorry.
Just to make sure we have on the record, for the second amendment was to change C back to where it was. I think Jim Rand made the motion, Adam made the second, and Adam, Stephen, and Jim voted for that. Okay. So now C is back to 9 feet 660.
All right, so we've
Done nothing.
changed the resolution. Now, do we have to vote on adopting it, or is it assumed that by
No.
changing it, we've adopted it?
No, we have to vote on adopting it.
We do or we don't?
Yeah,
do.
Yeah.
I would have thought so.
Yes.
okay, so if I could summarize the changes and make sure we have them correct. There was a change to putting in a new finding number 2 relative to the references made herein to the property owners, successors, and assigns. There's a change to condition VV, changing that to 6 p.m. And a change throughout the document, changing the 7 deed restricted affordable units to 8 throughout the document. Those are the changes I have in my notes. That's how I would summarize it at this point.
That's the same thing that I have.
Okay. Number 2, VV, and 8 in lieu of 7.
Okay. So now we have a resolution on the table. Is there a motion to approve the resolution as amended?
This is a bunch of crap.
Jim Rand makes the motion, looking for a second. Adam makes a second. All those in favor of a 60-unit building and 8 affordable units in the same height? Vote, say aye. There we go.
And so it appears that it's
So-
Stephen, Adam, and Jim voting in favor.
Yep, of 60 units, 8 affordables.
Okay. Voting opposed.
Voting opposed, we have George Riley voting opposed and Jeff Ball voting opposed.
George Riley, Jeff Ball. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you all.
that's that. I think we're done with that one now.
You should all be ashamed. Ashamed.
Yeah, and look forward to a nice
What a
lawsuit.
fucking joke. You're going serious.
Steve, look I know people aren't happy.
No, not happy. And Jim Rand, you need to go to.
Excuse me.
But I see no reason for the members of this commission who give so generously of their time and energy to have to listen to abuse from members of the public that aren't happy. I move that the meeting be adjourned.
Actually, Jim, you should be adjourned and you should leave the commission along with Stephen. You can actually complete Joe.
This is bullshit. How much are you getting paid for? Meet us all you want. We are going to sue you.
All right, the chairman's report, we're gonna
Steve, you
pass
should
it.
resign. You resigned about 10 years ago,
I'm
Steve.
going
There's no
to
reason for you to
state,
Any other
and
business?
you have messed with.
There's no other business. The next meetings are
I'm
March
sure we'll see all you guys around town. See you
Absolute-
soon, boy.
and March
Absolute bullshit.
and March 8th. Okay, with that said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Jim Rand made the motion. Is there a second to adjourn the meeting?
I second to build something in your backyard.
We need there's a second to adjourn the meeting from Jeff Ball. All those in favor? Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the evening.